Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton, and today I am joined by James Kendall. Ian Story is not with us. Guess what? He's on holiday again. So this is probably going to be one of the best podcasts of all time, because we are also joined by an industry legend, Mr. Matt Giggs. Mr. Matt Giggs, how are you, mate?
I'm really well, thanks, chaps. How are you?
Very, very good. We're going to start with our weekly tradition, which is to say, how's your week been? And I'm going to go to you, Matt, to tell us, how has your week been? What have you been up to?
It's you always know, you're programmed, aren't you? When you work in the corporate world, it's fucking great, it's brilliant. Yeah. And then the reality of it has been fucking hard work, right?
Yeah.
But for me personally, no, it's been good. I'm doing a lot more work on myself at the moment. Funny enough, as a big believer in personal development and all of that kind of stuff, you veer away from it, you revisit it. I think there's things that I'm working on personally which are going to help me kind of move forward into the next phase of my career. And I've done a lot more of that this week. Business-wise, getting clear. James and I caught up yesterday, which is hence why we're on today. And was talking about sort of business journeys and everything else. And we're kind of revamping some of what we do at Gigs, and I've kind of cut my ties with a few things in order to focus more on I'll call it the bread and butter, the main businesses, the core businesses that I work in. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of that means you're spending a lot more time looking at the future. You're looking at the right decisions. You're trying to make things fit the vision, align, stuff that you think is going to really work for you moving forward. So it's been a lot more planning as well and having some great conversations. So, yeah, really good week.
Good. What about you, JK?
I have had a good week, to be fair. I've had a busy week, to be fair. I come back from holiday last week. We had a bank holiday weekend. And I've just been flooded with vals at the moment. It's been difficult because when you tell someone you can't do a valuation until like the second week of September, it's a difficult challenge. So I've been trying to cram more in. So the first day back, I did 4 vals. Yesterday I did, what did I do? 3 yesterday before, and I met you. What time did I meet you, Matt? 2:30?
Half
1?
Yeah, 2:30.
Yeah. So I started really early yesterday. Got three there out of the way, and it is. I mean, 3 vals a day is enough for me. 4 on that first day back on the Tuesday. That was intense. I think I'd say there's probably 50% of those I think are in the bag. But yeah, it's good. I mean, same old challenges at the moment. Getting to market quick enough. Sales are okay this month. Okay. We've lost 2 this week, but it's what it is, isn't it? You always bank for losing, maybe 20%, 25%. Our fall through rate's a lot low, actually. It's about 15%. But if you plan for the worst and hope for the best, you can't be doing far wrong. But no, overall, pretty good, to be fair. Just lining a few things up. We've got quite a few in the pipeline to again still come on. Some really good stuff. Our quarterly market update this time, I think it's the best ever response we've ever had from our letter updates. I think we're on, what was that? I think I put in the chat, we're on 18 the other day, and I think we booked another 3 in the last 24 hours. Yeah. And some of those, they are, to put into context, it's not Joe Bloggs' is 3-bed semi. We're talking about generational, like 1.5 acre, multiple acre homes, like homes that come up like every 20, 25 years. Some real like special homes as well that we've been to and been invited out to, which really excited. I mean, that's, for me, that's what kind of gets me up in the morning. When you get to meet people and get to see inside those homes, that's what really gives me the buzz. But yeah, no, that's a really long way of saying, as usual, been a pretty good week. How about you, David? Can I just say, actually, like, David all week has been, the last 24 hours has been absolutely buzzing that we can have gigs. I told him we had gigs on the podcast. Dave is a massive Manchester United fan. So, he said, do I do my hair? Do I do this?
Honestly. I know. But, listen, the guy we've got on today is a bigger legend, let me tell you. I love it. But listen, the less we talk about football and Manchester United, the better today after last night's.
Well, we could go into that, couldn't we?
You might get a game, Matt, to be fair, at Man United. I mean,
did you see it?
I'm a West Ham fan, so I'm with you, Dave, mate. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, but I think at least the thing is, we're in United have got this huge history, and people keep talking about they'll be fine, they'll be fine, they'll be fine. It just is not changing. What's going on?
The benefit of the people that haven't listened, though, you both used to play a bit, didn't you? Like Matt could have gone pro. Did you go pro?
Did you say you did? Is it Wickham? Did you play for?
No, I was at Peterborough United.
Peterborough.
Yeah, I was there for a few years, and I kind of played a full season in the reserves and a few first team games, but friendlies, that kind of stuff. But,
nice, mate. Love that. Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
No, nothing like that.
Didn't you play when you were in the first team of the Rose and Crown?
Second.
Got relegated to the darts team.
No, I played a bit when I was younger, but I never got to any sort of level.
Could have gone pro if you hadn't done your ACL, yeah.
One of those. It's the old story, and I found women and drink, and that stuff. It all went wrong. No,
anyway, sorry, Dave. How's your week been, mate?
Yeah, good. Obviously, I was away for 2 weeks. I feel still a bit like I'm patchy. I'm not fully back because we had. I came back last week, but it was a bank holiday weekend. I actually had a day off yesterday as well. My son is 4-year-old and he starts school next week, so I wanted to try and spend a bit of time there. And we did Gulliver's World yesterday, which was fantastic. Queuing up for all these rides that are really, really poor. So that was good. But yeah, I mean, valuations are ridiculous. My diary is ridiculous. We've agreed 4 or 5, I think 5 sales this week. Kate was telling me yesterday, so that's good. And I've got a new starter on Monday, which I'm really, really excited about because he's going to come in and support on valuations and stuff. And he's a really good guy, and I think he'll hit the ground running. So I'm quite looking forward to that. So sales good. Instructions good, like you, JK. The letters have been amazing, and the valuations are coming in. So my diary's chunky, and it's been pretty good. Just today's a bit of a challenging day ahead. I can see it straight away. I've had to get in the right frame of mind because I've got a load of phone calls today, seller reviews. I've got a couple of challenging calls where surveys have come in and are not where they should be. I've got one where there's a dispute on land, so I can feel it already. Yeah. So before we came on air, we touched on something, Matt, which I really want to delve into with yourself in a moment, but about sort of mental preparation and being in the right space, and that's been a big thing for me over the last 6 months in particular. And I always set myself up in the same way each day so that I can go into this. And JK, you mentioned then fallers and stuff like that. I mean, we had a run of fallers about 2 months ago where in times gone by it really would have set me back and stressed me out. And now I wouldn't say it's water off a duck's back. It still always hurts, but mentally I'm just more prepared for it. And you mentioned something else as well about sort of managing your fall through rates and things like that and withdrawal rates. And I think that's one of the problems in our industry. There's a lot of people, particularly maybe in the self-employed space, who will go into this and they'll have a mentality of list 5, sell 5, and it's just never the case. You've really got to plan for this. And if you plan and set up for this sort of thing, the bad times as well, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. And
I must say that planning in numbers has come from us working together, Dave. Because I think I said to Matt yesterday when we were chatting, me and Story we'll run out and implement and get on, and you're the one that reins us back in and goes, right guys, what do you want to do? Sit down and talk about this now.
Yeah, that is true.
But I literally I look at where I was maybe 8 years ago, and I was just running around like a headless chicken, quite a good estate agent, but selling terraced and semi-houses, had no idea what my fall-through rate was, had no idea what my average fee was, no idea what my average value was, how many valuations I needed to get a certain result, if that makes sense. And to be honest, it doesn't interest me. If you put a spreadsheet in front of me, I'll run a mile, but it's one of those things that you've got to learn to be uncomfortable with learn to get comfortable with if you want to move the needle in your business. Because if you don't understand that, people don't go into brain surgery and go, well, I'll tell you what, we'll open up the back up here, we'll play about with that a bit there and see if that makes a difference and sew it back up. There's data and there's a method behind it all. And, if you look at if you look at successful businesses from, owner operators all the way up to your Amazons of the world, the most successful businesses are process driven, and they're driven by data and numbers. And that's one of my biggest learnings. And that's one, I know there'll be a lot of people that listen to this, and I speak to a lot of people as well, that, maybe think about joining, maybe current members, etc. And the thought of numbers just is like, put me in front of somebody in the living room and I'll have a great conversation. I'll convert. I'm a great estate agent. But when it comes to numbers and things like that, no, thank you. So you have to really get, I think, comfortable doing that. So Matt, obviously you set up your own estate agents with being in a corporate background. We actually never really crossed paths, did we, at Countrywide?
Not really, no.
You used to come in the office and everyone was like, wow, that's Matt Giggs. Like, I was a lonely negotiator. That was big time.
Oh, no, they were good times. I mean, obviously, you always have a reason why you leave these things and you go on. And there was certainly some good reasons for me breaking away from Countrywide. I think the biggest thing was actually realising that I didn't want to do the next step. For the first time going up the career ladder, I realised that the next step, I probably didn't even like the step that I was in at the time. We were talking yesterday, the best bit about being a regional manager, I had a period where I was so in my flow, where I'd just go to offices and leave them feeling better than when I arrived, whether it was learning something, role playing, mucking about, talking about some great reviews, whatever it was. My intention was always the same. I didn't want to be the area manager that pulled up outside of an office and people were scared of them walking in. But I started to become that towards the end, because of spreadsheets, dashboards, meetings, meeting after meeting. And it was so not me. And I think, that was a big benchmark of why I left. But just touching on what you're saying about the numbers. Numbers are the language of business. And I've operated in two halves with my business. The first half, where I am now at Giggs & Co., we knew the numbers. Like, I could do a quiz with my guys 6 years ago and say, how many completions did we have last month? And they'd say 18. And they would know. Now I could do it tomorrow and the guys just wouldn't know. And I could also ask them various questions about the business and they wouldn't know like they did 6, 7, 8 years ago. And it's not their fault. It's because my eye's not been on the ball. It's not been on the numbers. And, we just get complacent. We get comfortable. And, when you get comfortable, you get pains as well. You get you get problems and situations. And actually, most are avoidable. Coming back to what you said, Dave, about the challenges side of things and the mental prep. Estate agency is built for challenges, right? Let's be honest. There isn't a day that goes by when you're not faced with something. And, those challenges are what most people try to avoid. And actually, my mentality is I want the challenges because if I don't have them, I'm not getting better. And I know it sounds cheesy. My biggest thing has been I've always probably operated better with the business challenges than I have my personal challenges. And so I've got to learn some of that stuff at the minute, actually trying to really work on my own game more than the business. There's a guy that I listened to who said you've got to work more on yourself than you have your business. And I think that's so important. So do you remember when the England Rugby World Cup was on? I think it was 2003 or whenever it was. Clive Woodward was the manager of the team. He had this analogy. It was called teacup. Don't know whether you ever heard of it. It was think correctly under pressure. So basically, they used to set up in training, in plays. They would play out the scenarios that could go wrong in a game. They could lose a player. They could lose a penalty. They could lose 2 tries. But they would be prepared mentally for that situation to arise. And what it did is it gave them this level of confidence that no matter what, we have got what it takes to work under pressure. And I think if you know your numbers as an agent, you'll have a better business without a shadow of a doubt. And there's a lot of great agents that are earning less self-employed than they were employed, which is crazy, right? Because one of the big things about going self-employed is the freedom, and you get 100% of the commission and everything else. But actually, what do you get in your back pocket? When do you get it? And what are your numbers to achieve in excess of your goal? And I remember in year one of coming away from Countrywide, it was probably the worst time to leave a highly paid, secure role. Year one, I knew I had to earn a net salary of about 60 grand because my wife was off work. We just had our first child and everything else. We lost her salary, my salary. And it was like, why am I doing this? I've got a decent sized mortgage. But I knew that I had to work my numbers out and to understand financially, working self-employed with the taxes, with the corp tax, with the net profits, with the fall-through rates, with the valuation levels, everything. I needed to be really clear on everything. And like I said, the first 6 years of the business, everyone in the business knew the numbers. They knew the profit. They knew if we made a certain amount of profit, we'd have bonuses. They knew we could go to New York or whatever it was. It was so crystal clear. And what's happened over the years, Dave and James, you get comfortable. I've got different businesses around me. They're doing their thing. I've kind of led with freedom and probably a lot more flexibility. And whilst that's been really good, it's also proved to be a problem because standards do drop. I think standards drop unless you have accountability. I think accountability is crucial.
What's the saying? People don't do what you expect, to do what you inspect.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not inspecting like an area manager turning up at your office. It's let's talk about that. Let's open up that conversation on your valuations. What have you won? What have you lost? And how have you won those ones? How have you lost those ones? What's the feedback? Are you trying to get feedback? And so on and so forth. So it's actually there's two vital components to this first part of the pod. One is you've got to work on yourself more than your business. Now, you can look at that in so many different ways, but I would measure it on how you feel every day.
Can I ask you a question? Like, it's a bit of a personal question. It's something that we sort of talked about yesterday, and it's something, and it's more poignant to me, and I think it's probably quite poignant for people that are listening as well. Is I'm 40 next week, and in the last year or two, I've really started to think more about my health for a start, which is why I've tried to come down in weight. I've started playing football. I've gym, eating better, tracking my bloods, those kind of things. But also personally, like with kids as well, the amount of people that, and this is one of I think the powerful things about the job sometimes, where you meet people that are in their 70s and 80s, and you get chatting to them, and you say, they say, oh, have you got kids, this, that, and the other, and you say, oh yeah, I've got an 8 and a 4-year-old, and they go, oh, it's the best time that is. And there's a couple of like podcasts that clips that I've seen on Reels before that have come up that people have sent to me, and there's one in particular that's like that an 80-year-old woman is transported to a like 40-year-old body, and you look at yourself in the mirror, and you look young, and her husband looks strong and young, and this, that, and the other, and the kids are noisy, and the chaos is there, and she was kind of saying that you kind of miss it all when you're gone. And when you're in business, now I was obviously, when Harry was born 8 years ago, I was that busy fool. I didn't have any time with him growing up, and didn't we spend a lot of time at home. And that's one of the things I do regret, but I have made up for lost time as I've got older. But I just find it interesting when you say like working on yourself. Yeah. Is that something you think that's come with maturity as you've kind of got older and realised that look, you've got great successful businesses, you're super talented in what you do, and then when you're working on yourself, what's been the catalyst for that?
That's a brilliant question, and I'm really deep in it at the minute. And I'm learning presence at the minute because my brain is all over the place a lot of the time. I'm very, you could call it ADD if you want to put a label on it, but I'm definitely in that space somewhere. More of a visionary, and that means a lot of the time my brain's on the go. So I'm really working hard now going forward when I go into meetings or I'm at home. I switch things off and switch off the distractions, because actually the best conversations I have in work, in a lounge with a client, or at home with my kids, is when there's nothing else going on. I'm fully immersed in whatever that conversation is and doing that thing at the time. So for me, the catalyst with that is probably about during that period of running the first 6 or 7 years of the business, I was all in. But that came at a sacrifice, which was maybe not being all in at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kids, my wife was probably taking the majority of the responsibilities for the house and the children, and I was doing my job, which was to be at work. And I think, you know, you do get to a point where you think, well, hang on a minute, these days are going to pass me by, and I don't want to be further down the road and look back at now and go, I wasn't there. I
Yeah.
just wasn't there. But I think that's one of my biggest challenges personally, is to be present, is to feel like I'm really with someone when I'm with someone.
Yeah.
Have less conversations, but have better conversations. Have less. It's less about me saying I'm going to spend a day with whoever, my wife or my kids. It's what am I like on that moment, in that moment? Am I actually there, or am I on my phone, or am I thinking about a deal that's about to fall through, or a client that I need to call? And it's how you transition between those two things. Because if anyone's listening to this and they're in business, or you're just in a state agency, which you probably are, which is why you're listening to this, this job is the most reactionary, responsive, demanding, mentally challenging job you can do. 100%. Let's make no bones about it. So if you can't master this stuff, you're only doubling down on the stress and the pressure.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I've realized over the years is that being quick at responding doesn't actually make you, or quick at reacting doesn't make you great at how you respond.
Yeah. Sometimes you do need to take stock, don't you? Because it's one of those things sometimes where you can react emotionally when really you need to. And I don't know if you've read the Chimp Paradox before.
Yeah.
So if you think about, you don't want to respond as the chimp, really. You want to respond as the computer or the human, really, don't you? That won't make a lot of sense to people that are listening.
Well, do you know, it's funny though. Like, it makes so much sense to me, because if I went back, like, it's funny. I was with kids. They're the biggest Mickey takers out of me than any of my friends. But I said to them, "Do I shout less at you these days?" And they were like, "Yes." I was like, "Would you like me to shout at you again?" You know, because But I was so immersed in business and achievements and all of those different things, which, you know, if I looked at my priority list back then, it was business first.
The thing is, I don't think you should be ashamed of that, because I do think there's a lot of people that are. I'm not saying you are, but there's a lot of people that, you know, would read an Instagram quote and go, well, you know, you should do this and you should do that. But, you know, the reality is, when you're an entrepreneur and you've got entrepreneurial spirit, that's what drives you.
I freaking love business. I love the game. I love the game of working with people. That for me is the most fun thing, working with clients and so on and so forth. But when that game overtakes your core self, you have to be really careful. So if your core
Can I ask
self,
you a question, Matt, as well, just while we're on this? Like,
yeah,
obviously, you've coached like, you know, hundreds of people over your career. You know, where would you say you've had, you know, in one time? I don't want you to name names, obviously, but where would you say you've had the biggest impact on someone?
do you know? So my personally, I like I said about being an area manager, I always feel I'm at my best when I'm present. So let's just wrap that part up. Is to leave people that I work with better than when I started working with them. So, but there's a couple of guys who were working in separate bedrooms in their own business. This is about 2 years ago, who are up in Liverpool way. Really good couple of guys. They were doing okay, scraping by, you know, doing 180, 190 grand, something like that, 160, 170 grand. I can't remember what their total income was. And within 18 months, they're doing 400, 450. And all it was setting them out with a clear vision. What do they want to achieve? What do they want to be? Sitting a vision board together, having clear goals, making sure that they were working in the areas of the business that they should be working on in order to achieve those goals, holding them accountable, keeping them learning. And that was a huge impact for those two, because they've gone on and invested in commercial property. They've now got a team around them. They've got another office that they're working in, and they're going on holidays, and they're doing all of the other stuff that you should do. You should get the rewards of the hard work that you put in, but they were working really hard and not getting the rewards. And for me, that's what I love to do, And Ollie's Ollie Henson, he works with me. Ollie, I'm so proud of Ollie. Like, this last 2 years, I've watched him, without much of my time, I must say, in the last 2 years, go and start a business with us in another area. And he's been a huge, I would say, loss to the business that I operate in now in St Neots, because he's such an experienced agent. It's like taking you or I or Dave out of a business and putting him over there. But we knew 2 years before that he needed an opportunity that was aligned with where he wanted to go. So we made the decision to build something with him over there. And he's doing more profit in that new business than we're doing in an existing business.
Wow.
And that's because it's just because he has one focus in his business, one focus. And that is so clear to see, and it's so good to watch. Now, we know that the first 2 or 3 years are probably, I would say, are the best years. You have the highest amount of energy, the most amount of enthusiasm. You have less distractions, because in the nicest possible way, one of the best and the worst things to happen was the success that we had in the first 6 years. Worst thing was, I thought I could touch anything and it would turn to gold. The best thing was, it taught me a way of achieving things that I'd never thought I could achieve, which I've been able to share with people like Ollie. But they're the things that make such a difference. I mean, literally, he has done probably £1 million worth of turnover in 2.5 years.
Wow, that's good. From a cold start as well.
Well, it was a warm start. So he had, I think, 10, 12 vendors in an area which we designated. So you had a warm start, but you can't take...
Still, 10, 12, I mean, it's still some going to do that from, effectively... I mean, you're quite well known in the area that you're in, aren't you? That's a huge advantage that you've got in where you are. Dave, you sound like you want to ask something, mate. You're doing that face you do when you want to ask a question.
It's like you keep butting in, JK. You know what I mean? Jesus, calm down. No, I wanted to go back a couple of steps, because you've talked about sort of your personal challenges, Matt, and obviously they'll feed into business and vice versa, and being present and working on that. I'm interested to know what you've changed. Like, because it's easy to just say, I'm going to be more present, and things like turning your phone off and stuff like that is good. But have you had to make any like major changes to your? Because I find there's one thing that I find now is that if I don't have structure every single day, the day just gets lost, and it very often does, as business does to you, particularly when you're running small teams and things like that. But there's one thing that I don't ever really compromise on, and that is my personal structure before I step through the door at work. That's something I've really found over the last 6 to 12 months. I'm just interested to hear from someone like yourself, who's probably, it sounds like you've got similar challenges, multiple things going on, what you've changed and how it's helped you and how you value it.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think if people were really honest with themselves first, you get there a lot faster. And I think one of the things, we don't take enough time. I mean, sorry to go around this the long way, but I send a document to people that we meet because I want to understand them first before we bring them into the business. Because I think most people don't spend any time asking themselves any kind of questions that are going to provoke any self-awareness or any observations which can help them more to move forward than you can going and listing a couple more houses this week. So for me, I constantly look at myself. I'm sometimes very disciplined and sometimes very ill-disciplined. So the structure that I have around fitness has stuck with me now for about 9 or 10 years. So that's been a really positive part of my development. In recent years, I've become a better dad, right? And what that became more important to me, the more I felt that I was probably not showing up as a dad as best as I could be for my kids. Like I was there, provided, I'd done all of those things. So, consciously doing things with my children now, whether it's taking them to the stables or taking Jude to football or playing in the garden or just cooking them dinners, whatever it is, that makes me feel good because it fills that part of the cup up that was not empty, but it was approaching it. Therapy's been brilliant for me, being quite open. I've visited that a number of times over the years, from losing my brother to challenges like when COVID arrived. I was like, right, I need to mentally prepare. What are my blind sides? What are my blind spots? My brain is so powerful, but it can tell me I'm, able to do anything. It can also tell me I'm unable to do stuff when in fact I can. So do you know the structure around listening to podcasts, listening to videos, that kind of stuff just sets the right tone. So the things that I've got to do forward, I've started deleting news apps and certain people that they may be right in what they're saying about the current economy and the Labour government or whatever it is, but it really doesn't serve me particularly well mentally on a daily basis. So why am I embroiling myself in that like I never used to do? And I think a lot of it comes back down to maybe somewhere inside of me, I'm looking for an easy way out, an easy excuse. But actually, if I showed up here tomorrow, fully present with the people that I meet and train and develop here tomorrow, are there plenty of opportunities and conversations that we could have that would move the needle forward with each of those guys so they convert more business? The answer is yes. It's got nothing to do with Rachel Reeves. It's got nothing to do with Sir Keir, two-tier, whatever they call him. And the rest of them are clowns anyway. So whatever happens, the country is in the country, if you want to look at it that your life is in the hands of politicians, I don't think you'll ever be happy. I certainly don't ever think you're going to make a particularly successful business person. And I genuinely believe that there are opportunities in every business every single day. So for me, it's deleting and defaulting things. So delete the stuff that doesn't serve me. So people that I may follow that I quite like, I think they've got something to say, but actually it's not setting my mindset up in the way that I need to. I was playing golf 3 or 4 years ago, Dave, 2 or 3 times a week. It wasn't actually to get the best score, because it really wasn't a great score. But I was out there 2 or 4 hours at a time in nature, walking around, soaking up a little bit more of myself and feeling a little better, a bit more energy when I come off the course. And actually, I just felt better. I felt more energized. So I think there's things that if you're listening to this now and you're maybe not feeling that you're at a 9 or a 10 going into your day to day, there are things that you can control, that you can work on. There are things that you can delete that are really not serving you. They could be friends that you're listening to. They could be colleagues that you shouldn't have around you. And they could be, the wrong apps in your phone, for argument's sake, whatever it is that you're looking at. So for me personally, I'm actually in the process right now of reworking my mindset in making sure that I'm at my best self to take the business forward to the next level, but also for me personally to feel at my best self so I can show up in the right way in all of my relationships and not actually be in a position where I have regret further down the line.
I mean, everything you're saying there, I think if you get that part right, for me, Matt, the headspace,
totally.
Everything else follows. I mean, I have to say, I was in a place probably 18 months ago, maybe 12 months ago, where I was struggling. I really was struggling. And you put on a brave face, and a lot of people don't really see it. But I felt that I was out of shape, for my usual self. Mentally, I was drained because all I was doing was working here. I've got a young child, family, and all that sort of stuff. And do you know what? It was by chance. I decided to get back on track with my fitness and stuff. And I was following a program, but not following it as I should have done. So I won't bore you and get into an athletics sort of a podcast, but it involved a lot of walking and things like that. But I wasn't really doing it, and I was trying to catch up at night by going for runs and things like that. And eventually, I got injured, and I couldn't train properly like I do. And I've always trained consistently for football and things like that. But what it resulted in a nutshell, was all I could do really was just go out and walk. And because what you've just been talking about. It started eating work and everything else started eating into my family time, which didn't go well at home. So what I started to do is I got into a mindset of I'm going to get up very early, and I'm not telling everybody that should join the 4 or 5 a.m. club, but for me, it had to be pretty much that to fit this into my routine at the time. So it was kind of like a 5:30 start, and all I could do at the time was walk. And where I live is quite nice. It's quite semi-rural. There's some woods and things like that. And I would get up at 5:30, and I would literally go and walk for 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And at the start, it was right. I've got to do this just to make sure that I'm in a calorie deficit, and I'm doing. That was what I was thinking. Yeah. And then as that week became 2 weeks, and I started carrying on walking, I thought this is not about my calories at all. It's about my mindset. Yeah. And I was actually out there, like you've said, in nature before work, walking around, gathering my thoughts. It was just me. Sometimes have a podcast on, walking around. I cannot tell you how much of a game changer that has been for me. And I think it's noticeable. Like if we do get like fall throughs and the shit going on in the business, which is every single day, it is. I seem to be able to handle it a lot better. There are challenges, don't get me wrong, that get you. Of course there are, but I've just found that by working on myself physically and mentally over the last 12 months, it has completely changed my outlook on the business and positively impacted that as well. So I'm a massive advocate of it.
And you know what? I take so much away from that. And I think if whoever's listening, you should as well. I mean, there's a guy that I've worked with called Ross Final, who runs a company called Christopher Pallet. You should follow him. I mean, this guy pretty much 2 years ago, he entered a group. I was doing these 6-week coaching groups for 4 agents who run their own businesses. And we had a lot of fun. And actually, the group's still going. And it's like 2 years later. And it's every month we get together. There were messages he sent me where he goes, I've had enough. I'm done. He's now 18 months probably, stopped drinking, swims every morning, fitness. His business has gone. It's like he's doing like 100 grand months, and he was barely paying the bills at one point. And do you know what's worse for me, James, Dave? And this was that for me was very important to me 6, 7, 8 years ago. It was like, work on myself, blah, 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 blah. But there were 1 or 2 other things that were just falling away, which kind of dragged me back round. But what I've been inspired by the guys that I'm coaching or mentoring. Mm-hmm. Like they've reminded me of the fact that, do you know what? Because they're going on, they're at the start of this journey. It's like, fucking hell, do you know what? I need to do that again. It's been really, really great to watch and be a part of. So it's made me step up in myself. And I genuinely think what you've just said there, we can all relate to. You're going to get challenges. The way you face the challenges is the important thing. Yeah. You're going to get challenges. There's 100% guarantee you'll probably get at least 1 or 2 big ones a week if you're doing any amount of volume. And do you know what? I believe that if you're in the right frame of mind, a lot of those challenges become opportunities. Mm-hmm. If you're in the right frame of mind. Yeah. So being in the right frame of mind is the focus point here of this chat today. How do I get in the right frame of mind, knowing that there are going to be challenges? There's going to be things that come my way that I'm going to be up against. Well, walking, right? You've said it. Getting out in nature, playing golf, swimming, whatever those things are for you, you've got that choice. I remember when COVID was going on, you're allowed out for 1 hour a day. Walk. I remember I'd power hour. Every morning I'd be out at 7, fucking walk, podcast on, doing live videos, absolutely bloody super hyped up and focused. Then I'll be on Zoom all bloody day and do it the next day. So the one thing I did then, which was brilliant, it was being out in nature, walking, fresh air, all different times of the year. It was just the best thing that I could do. And I think there are so many simple, low-cost things that we can do that will give you a higher return of your investment of time, that are healthier, they'll help you with your mindset, they'll help you feel better about yourself personally, and you will start to see the results change. And I don't believe the market's going to change much in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe. You could argue that it might get even more challenging. I don't know. But if you're the one in your market that has the ability to see things differently than anybody else, and you see change and challenges as opportunities because you're mentally clearer than everybody else, you will gradually take over. You will gradually be the person that people want to use on those appointments. Because let's be honest, when you're sitting in front of people in their lounge, and you guys were talking about doing valuations at the start, you leak a certain energy. You leak what you're thinking, what you're feeling. You can't hide it. Body language, it's there. Whether you're looking in someone's eyes or you're looking down or you're looking away, you will tell somebody all about you without actually saying anything. So all of the things that we're talking about are probably half an hour a day of working on yourself. It could be listening stuff, walking, doing both, which means you're getting both in. And the reason why I'm sharing this with a bit more passion today than maybe I would have done 6 months ago is because I've had to look in the mirror a lot in order to figure out that, I'm 50 in November. I don't want to be kind of working on things that I don't enjoy. James and I were talking about this yesterday. I had so many different things going on a year to 2 years ago that I had to really go, I just don't feel that passionate about that. I don't really care enough about that. I don't really want to be doing that. When you're with someone and your energy either rises or it decreases.
Yeah.
Listen to that fucking energy level. Observe it. Feel it. If you're with someone and your energy decreases, you need to consider how much time you're spending with that person. And it could be a client.
Yeah. Energy vampires, we call them. And they always leave you clues. I think we said yesterday, it's quite interesting you talking about it. I know from the second I open the front door whether I'm going to get this instruction, whether I'm going to want it, and whether they're going to be people that I want to work with, just by what the house feels like and how I'm greeted at the front door. So it leads quite nicely into it in terms of, like, I suppose the second half. And I think there'll be a lot of people that take a lot of value from that, because we get all sorts of different people listening to this podcast, whether it's industry suppliers, whether it's Simon Gates walking his dog, or just general self-employed agents and business owners. And I think, we talk agency each week, which is why a lot of people listen to the podcast. But I do think everything that you've said is really important for people to kind of take stock, because I don't feel like there's lots of self-improvement podcasts out there that people will dial in and listen to. But sometimes I think it's more relevant when it comes from people that are in and own agency businesses, because sometimes, it can be easy for someone to say, Jeff Bezos running Amazon, great, he's just jetted off on his private jet and he's on Diary of a CEO, and it's not really as relatable. Whereas I feel like there'll be different people that listen to this podcast that can relate to all three of us in different ways in terms of where they're at in their business. I just wanted to ask where you see not the market, but where you see estate agency going in the next 5 years.
Can I add a layer to that as well? Sorry, where it's going, and also I'm interested in the main principles you follow and what you see in the industry, day to day, because like you say, the market changes, but really not much else should. You should be. You've got to vendors and what have you. You've got to adapt with the market, but as a business, as your structure, that should usually stay the same. You should usually have the same rhythm, the same principles. The same way swimming relies on leg strokes to keep you moving forward. I think an agency needs daily routines to keep pushing forward. So I'm interested to hear your take on that as well.
Well, look, I think the real estate agency isn't dead, right? I think the real part of it is still human connection. And I think with the acceleration of AI, and we touched on this, James, yesterday, the temptation for a lot of people is to replace themselves. And actually, there's going to be even more importance for you to be yourself and to actually be the best version of that, and to make sure that when you're speaking to people, you're able to give more value, more confidence, more solutions than anybody else in your marketplace. So I think there's going to be a lot of disruption in that area, in that space. I think the corporates, I've really struggling, having worked with a few people recently that are in the corporate world, it's really nosediving in my mind as to what that is. We know what it's all about. It's obviously, it is about mortgage business, life cases, and so on and so forth. You know, there's a lady that I helped find a role recently in a corporate, and she's on a very low salary, arguably under the minimum wage. And I didn't introduce her to that business. I just helped her to get interviews and into a place where she felt she was going to get the training, which she hasn't had. And you know, she's like, what are you asked to do every day? Well, I'm asked to get 5 viewings, book 2 mortgage appointments, and create 2 valuations. Now, okay, well, have they shown you how to do that? What training have you had? No, no, and no. And you're like, well, this thing's getting worse. Because at least back in the day, James, when we were at Taylor's or Countrywide, there was a lot of training. There was loads of it. You know, you would have either someone who was capable in the branch, and then you would go to regular training outside a branch. Now, I'm not trying to judge everybody in the corporate world, but you know, the experience on that front line with more independent agents setting up, whether it's as a self-employed agent or under an independent estate agent, there's going to be more of that going on. So you have to get better. You have to give more value. You have to have better statistics than the competition. You have to have more referrals, more people recommending you. You have to be seen. You have to be known. You have to be liked. You know, you've got to work on those principles, because if you're not out there in your market, somebody else is, and they will be seen before you. And there's a lot of self-employed agents out there. So they do go under the radar. They deliver probably a better experience and an even better service than some of the people that are vocally out there every single day. But but those guys have to face their own fears, right? Which is, they clearly deliver tons of value. So they've got more value they can bring to their audience. James, you were talking with myself yesterday about the fact that you probably have 200-300 viewers or downloads. I'm not sure, whatever it is, of each episode that you do of the Complete Agent Pod.
Yeah. On each platform, yeah.
That's 200 to 300 people listening to your content, listening to who you are, how you are. They're getting to know you, right? Most of the clients that I've coached in the last 3 years, and by the way, most of my coaching clients, or I call them mentor clients, because realistically, that's what I am. They started watching me years before I worked with them. So unless you're putting your style, your beliefs, your value out there into the wider audience and giving more value to the market that you want to work in, somebody else will. So you can be stealth, and you don't have to make it about you. You can make it about the kind of advice that you bring, the kind of value that you offer. You can make it about what your clients talk about and the experience that you've delivered. But you should not hide away the value pack, the value proposition, the value amount that you make and you give to people in your community. So I think when it comes to about the market moving forward, I think more agents will focus on smaller areas. They will want to be known more in smaller locations, whereby they stand out as the obvious choice because they've got the most amount of stories, the most amount of success, they put the most amount back into that community as well. You know, I still think estate agency is living and breathing, humanistic, personal connection, trust, someone that I want to work with. All of those things can come across in your content. And, you know, you can end up being, even if you do one video, you're probably likely to get 500 views, right? If you're consistently showing up, getting 500 views and you're just posting something every single day which is of value to your audience, which is relatable to your market, which is understood to be helpful to them, then you're going to be getting in the region of thousands and thousands of people watching you on a monthly basis. Remember, in the old days, you'd go out and want to deliver leaflets doing that sort of stuff, right? Now you've got tools that do it for you. So the bit that you've got to get over, and by the way, if anyone wants to, I first started Gigs & Co in 2012. And if you ever go into Gigs & Co's YouTube and go back to my first videos, you'll see corporate Matt with the tie on, with the suit, doing a market update in May 2012 in the first month of being in business. And I was petrified. I didn't know what to say. I looked like I was reading the news. I'd done 35 different takes of the video that got out there is terrible, but the ones before that were even worse, But the point is, I knew that if I wanted to be known by my market for the things that I believed in the way that I believe we can do them, then I have to tell people what we do. I have to share more about who we are and why we do what we do. And I think agents of the future are just going to get better and better and better at doing it. And
can I just say though, Matt, like, on that, like, done beat, it's classic, done beats perfect, another cliche, but 10 years that you were doing that 10 years ago, there's agents that are in 2025 that still aren't doing it now.
But what I question is, so if I spoke to an agent, I have done this recently as well, so it's why it probably comes up. But, I said, well, okay, you don't have to do it. What if you did? What would happen? And then we talked about it. And then I showed them the funny videos from my past. And, I don't know. I was looking at a couple of the channels that I've got. There's over 100,000 views of the content that I put out last month, right? 100,000. That's ridiculous. Now, let's say 2/3 thought I was a bit of a twat, right? Which is probably
welcome to Dave's world.
The right start, right? The right conversion rate.
That's not bad. 2/3.
Let's say a third didn't, and actually they quite like me. They wanted to watch something again, or they wanted to spend whatever. That's still 30-odd thousand people that are going to maybe watch something again and become a fan. And you kind of when you really wind it all back, estate agency is a contact sport. It's more than that. It's actually a connection sport. It's about building connections, and people only connect with people that they see as relatable, as someone that shares the same kind of things as them. James, you said it. You walk out and you know straight away, if I walk into a house, I know I'm going to be working with this client. It's no different. So all of your content shows the clients that you want to work with. I've noticed that, right? You can see it. But you make it about the houses more than you do yourself. So that's a great way of showcasing what you believe in, what you do to your audience that you want to work with. And I think estate agents of the future are already doing that now.
Can I ask you a quick question back? I don't want to flick back and forth too much. I'm conscious of time as well. But when you're coaching agents, what would you say? What's the mindset block that you often have to help them break?
Well, I think people do worry, and I've been in this place where you worry about what other people think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's break that down. And there's a great quote, isn't there? And I use a quote which is around, it's not your business to worry about what people think of you, or it's none of your business, something along those lines. And it really isn't, because in the nicest possible way, most people that maybe haven't got the love for what you do, the like for what you do, are never going to be your clients anyway.
No.
Right? So why are you going to hold yourself back and, I suppose, restrict yourself and your life and your opportunity and your potential? And I sometimes ask them to think about the people that they're trying not to be disliked by, and to describe them. And then we'll talk about, where are they in the world right now? Are they someone that they look up to? Which they're obviously not. And And then you say, well, what are you holding back by maybe behaving or operating in a way that they feel that they want to see you? Or it's that worry about, it's not just worrying about what people think, it's worrying about what the wrong people think. Let's focus on delivering content that helps people, which is in line with your values and your vision. Brilliant, right? And let's say a third of those people absolutely love it and 2/3 don't. The numbers will be staggering. So I think you've got to teach people to validate themselves, I think, first. And I think self-validation means you're not seeking it from others, which I think is a little bit unattractive. And I think it certainly repels people. So I think the first thing is if you believe in what you do and you love what you do and you love how you do it, fantastic. Why not share what value you can bring to an audience? Not the whole audience, but to an audience.
So here's another question then. So we've talked a little bit about AI. We've talked about where we think it's going. What do you think the winning agency of 2030 looks like?
Well, I honestly think there'll be less agents, actually. Because I think
you see a lot of the future being, because I was talking about this with Gatesy the other day, which we were having a chat. It was a 5-minute conversation turned into a 40-minute conversation, as it often does. And we were kind of both talking about how we think, with there being a lot of low fee agents out there and a lot of people struggling, how there'll be a lot of merger and acquisitions that go on when a lot of the bigger corporates will swallow up smaller independents. I just think it's an interesting conversation to what the agency of the future looks like.
Well, I think personal agency, or I don't know, I had Steph on the TA UK. I've had obviously Adam Day and various others who promote very clearly their models, which is absolutely about the one-to-one relationship. So much of that does make sense, because if you reverse engineer it and think, who would I want to work with if I was going to list my house? Do I want to work with multiple people in one team, which you might, or do I want to work with someone that's going to actually carry through on what they've promised while they were sat with me, and they build the plan, they work with me from start to finish? So I do feel more of that's more attractive to the consumer. So I think the consumer will drive that through, and agents will have that choice. I think a well-oiled machine of high performers is harder to achieve now than it perhaps was many, many years ago. But if you've got someone like Dave who's fucking brilliant at processes and following things through, then you've got a bloody great chance. But I'd still believe that people want to work with someone that they believe in, that's someone that they think is going to get me to my outcome. So AI will only assist that person. It won't do the job for them. It will only assist that person. It will cut out a lot of the support functions. There's a lot more now business owners could get a bit more excited by with regards to having 24-hour technology and support and outsourcing and automation. But that will not do it for you. It's a bit like Rightmove. Rightmove does not sell houses, right? Estate agents sell houses. And I still have this argument with friends who say, well, as long as you've got it on Rightmove, you know that classic?
Yeah.
And actually, most of the deals we do aren't because of the lead that came in about that property. It's actually what we took them to instead of just that one. Or we've looked after that client and we're going to find them somewhere else. So I think for me, the agents of the future are going to get better at optimizing their time to spend with the right people in the marketplace.
I think as well, it's been, if you think about it, it's been around that for a long time. It's just never been advertised that way. So what I mean by that is, we've all done corporate. So you'll know when you're in corporate, let's just say there's an area of 10 branches. If there's one really superbly performing branch that's got an incredible branch manager and an amazing valuer, that branch is likely to succeed.
Yeah.
Now then, if you take the amazing valuer out of the high-performing branch and put a weak valuer in that branch, all of a sudden the branch is going to fall down.
Yeah.
And I always used to think that even then, when you've got the branch name above the door, it's the person that originally sat on the sofa that the people have bought into. They've not necessarily bought into the name above the door. So I was Your Move at the time. I always maintained they never employed Your Move to sell a house. they employed Dave to sell the house. Or when I took on Jamie, it was Jamie is selling my house, and I put all my sort of trust and faith into him, and he's told me that he's got a great setup behind him and he's got support and all that, but my faith is in Jamie. So I almost feel like the self-employed agency model was there. It just wasn't being advertised and being used that way.
Totally. I mean, Kirsty Frank said on the podcast, company brand attracts, personal brand converts.
Yes, love that.
In many respects, if you can combine the two, you are the future of estate agency.
Can I just, there's a couple of things just on that. I'm conscious of time as well. Like, you're absolutely right.
My accountant's sitting somewhere waiting for me at the minute, which is absolutely fine. Which is absolutely fine, by the way.
It's only costing you £250 a minute, but it's fine.
We can finish off on market chat. You can get yourself off, Matt, if you need to go. It's all right.
I was just going to say, like on that, like obviously without going too deep down the rabbit hole in terms of paying people an agency, paying good people to be an agency, I do think the self-employed model is really bringing those high performers back into agency and retaining them into agency. And you're absolutely right. You know, Rightmove doesn't sell a house. Like, you know, he listens to the pod, so I'll shout out Richard, who's one of my area partners in the business. And so often where we've been the second or third agent in one, you know, a couple of times we've been the seventh or eighth agent in for people that have been trying to sell for 4 years. And it can make such a difference having the right person with the right attitude. You know, the marketing gets people through the door, but having the right person like through to show somebody, you know, and it was sometimes you're almost coaching buyers sometimes when you show them around a house and removing mindset blocks that they've got over certain things. For example, well, we really like this house. It ticks a lot of boxes, but, you know, we're really after an open plan kitchen diner. And being able to have the nous to go, well, actually, you know, you could pretty much take any wall down you want. It's just how much it costs you to take it down. So if this house works for you and it's in the right location, then, you know, if you've been on the market for a little while, maybe there's an opportunity to have a conversation with the seller. Why, you know, this is the house for you. However, they're going to make you an offer of 10K, 15K under, and getting deals done, you know, and it's been life-changing. We had one video testimonial recently, Richard got sent over off their own back from clients where they'd been on the market with another agent for 7 months. The agent pushed them to try and accept 1.3, and Richard sold it at 1.55. That's £250,000. That's life-changing money. And those people, like you alluded to earlier, Matt, you said, you know, they've now become raving fans. Yeah. And they've told anyone and everyone that will listen, if you're selling your house, you need to speak to Richard because this is what he did for us.
And I think that it's equipping those people, those great people, with the tools and the ability to be in conversations more, because that's where they make the difference. You know, it's in the conversation. And like you said, James, Dave, about the guy in the lounge, you know, a lot of it is won and lost there, but you can win before you get there as well. And I think agents that are like your Tanya Bakers, for argument's sake, I can imagine people that love her content will only want Tanya Baker.
Yes. Yeah. And she's a brilliant agent as well, by the way. Like, there's a lot of people that look at her on social media, and her marketing is phenomenal. Like, she's a good friend, Tanya.
Yeah. And she's someone that, you know, if you're looking to model yourself on someone, you're never going to copy Tanya, because Tanya is Tanya, and her content and everything she does is built around who she is and how she operates. Mm-hmm. But take that into your world. You know, who are you as an agent? How do you show up as an agent? You know, build your business around that, and you won't go far wrong.
Well, she said to me ages ago, when we were chatting, this is probably about 4 years ago now when we were chatting, and she said to me, and I think she said it on your pod as well, you've got to lose 80% of your audience to have your 20% raving fans, you know. And you said it again earlier, and it's something that I live my life by now. I never used to, but, you know, what other people think of you is none of your business.
That's it. That was the quote. I heard it somewhere. I'm glad you said it, because I've been sitting here thinking, what was that bloody quote? But
yeah.
But, you know, there's another thing that, you know, a mantra that I'm learning at the minute is it's not my job to manage other people's emotions.
No. Correct. Yeah.
Because as a leader, as a business owner, I used to spend so much time and energy trying to placate or manage what might happen. And no, my core self is I'm fairly assertive naturally, right? And I want to just share this with you. These are my observations. I think one of the things we sometimes worry far too much about is what other people think. And, you've got to lose that. You've got to lose that.
I think it's probably a good place to wrap it, because Matt has probably racked up a £45,000 bill.
He won't be giving me the breakfast now. So thanks for having me on, guys. I really, really appreciate it. And it's great to see you, Dave, as well.
And you, Matt. Cheers, mate.
I'll catch up with you both soon. I assume I just leave at the bottom here, yeah?
You just leave. We'll finish it off. Thanks so much, Matt. You're a ledge. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Take care, fellas.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
Estate Agent Showdown, by the way. There you go.
Yeah, Matt, battling it out with Gatesy for the second best podcast in the industry. Make sure you check out Estate Agent Showdown.
See you later, guys.
Take it easy, mate. Oh, what a ledge. He's been a great guest, hasn't he, Matt? And I've got a lot of respect for him. He mentioned something before. He talked about people have followed him for ages, and then when they see him, they sort of feel like they know him. That's how I felt with Matt. We've actually met in person, I think, twice.
Yeah,
but spoken quite a lot. But I'd been following him for quite a long time. He was quite vocal on LinkedIn years and years ago, and I think we've only touched the surface with Matt. I'd love to get him back on. He had so much value. And tell me, the podcast is obviously Estate Agency Showdown.
Yeah,
it's really good, really impressive, and it's a bit of a different spin, isn't it?
But it's a bit like, I suppose, the Diary of a CEO, when you have a couple of guests on with different opinions, and they kind of battle it out between them, but with kind of an estate agency kind of spin on it.
No, good. It is good. Yeah. JK, I was just going to say, while we let Matt go, normally we'd wrap it up, but I thought we'll just finish off on market and just quickly how you're finding it. And we touched on structure as well with Matt then, and I just thought just finish off on that, because I think it's just so important setting up for, we've talked about the marketing letters, the not on the market letters that we send out, and how we've talked in the past how summer's quite a quieter period, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make that point about when you're quiet, don't switch off the marketing. I know we've spoken about this before, and Gates is quite a big advocate of it as well. I just find it so true. I mean, we've had probably one of our busiest summers, to be fair, in terms of instructions. It usually does die off a little bit, but sort of May, June, July, we're really busy. August wasn't as busy instructions-wise, just quite purely and simply because I wasn't here. Mm-hmm. But we've also been holding stuff off to go live in September, so we're pretty well equipped there. And it just hit home before when we were talking briefly about knowing your numbers and knowing fall-through rates and etc., and how your mindset shifts from that's okay, we'll recover kind of thing, because we've got the lead gen strategy in place. We know the other thing that this is, I think, a really big thing. You know what your busy months are. Like, I was expecting July and August to be quiet. So we went into that with not so much with that mindset, because you want a positive mindset, but we still had all the lead generation strategies in place. And, August has been a quieter month for us, but we've still booked, I think, 25, 30 valuations.
It's interesting, though, you say that, but because in our private WhatsApp yesterday, the chat was going off, and there's two agents that have had almost their best ever months.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah.
And I think that latest letter, I don't know whether it's just because, people think the time's right or whatever, but it just seems to have landed so well. Mm-hmm. And it's really got people thinking about, right, and we've got, we may have CGT to write out in the next one in terms of, what that's going to look like. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But a few people that said they listened to last week's podcast and went, God, Dave was a bit vocal on the government, wasn't he?
Well, don't get me started. I mean, you're right. And obviously that's going to rear its ugly head at some point in the next couple of months, isn't it? But I think it's just because we get market sentiment right. We're just delivering the facts and the truth. I went to a valuation on Bank Holiday Monday, and it was a really successful guy, sold a business, sold more than one business, sold a few businesses, And he is, we had a good couple of hours talking about all this stuff, because I'm finding there is a bit of an exodus at the moment of wealthy and successful business people moving abroad, Dubai, Marbella, places like that. But basically, he was saying to me, this is just the first step. I'm getting rid of the house. It's £3 million. Politics aside, what he did do was pulled out a little sort of folder, and in that folder was every single nom letter that we'd sent over the last 2 years, every single one. And
the old Bulldog marketing clip.
Absolutely, yeah. And his house is about 3 million. Beautiful house, and I actually think I might have somebody who likes it. So I'm going to.
Is that the one in the chat you put the other day?
Yes.
That you went, yeah, it's lush.
Yeah, beautiful, really beautiful.
We've been some really nice. I mean, between the three of us, like in our own little WhatsApp chat, like we've always, we're always putting in there like, oh, I've just been to this today, just been to that today. Like, what a world of difference it is from where we all were 10 years ago.
Oh, I know. It is. It's crazy. It's nice. You have to check yourself. But yeah, preparation is key. It's like now we know September probably going to be really busy, leading up to those of your Christmas completions. You get into January, and I know for a fact that April is going to be a really great month. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're always planning ahead, and as long as you've got that and you've got the structure in place, you'll be absolutely fine.
Seems like a good place to leave it. Thanks again to our guest, Matt Giggs. Again, just a little plug for Matt. The Estate Agency Showdown podcast, fighting it out to be the second best podcast in the industry with the world-class guys and Simon Gates. They're all fighting it out. So drop them a listen, drop them a follow, and reach out to them on social platforms.
Can I just finish on a question?
Go on.
Gatesy, what breed of dog have you got? Just let us know.
Two. Thanks. I think he's got Jack Russell. I think they're Jack Russell.
You don't tell me. I want him to tell us. I want him to post it.
Well, you'll hear it on the podcast that he has you on in 6 months' time, probably.
Yeah, so, great. Okay, well, just post it on your stories. I want a picture of your dog, you and your dog walking, listening to the Complete Agent podcast. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Done. Right. As always, mate, it's been a pleasure. It's been the best ever podcast.
Yep.
More Southern voices.
Somebody missing.
Cheers, lads. Right. We'll see you next week.
Cheers for listening.